We're going to be having a mini TVJ town hall. My colleagues here in studio with me doing Extol Oral, Tracy as well as Jermaine Brown. Before we hear from them though, I went up to the University of the West Indies earlier this afternoon to get a few words from Coach Glenn Mills on what else, if anything, we need to do to support our athletes. Take a look.
There need to be a structure through which athletes who qualify are able to apply for some kind of grant or help. You must have a system of criterias because there's a whole lot of people training. The majority of who are not going to make it at the international level. The question, however, Dion, is how should that be done and who is responsible? Because it's not going to happen automatically. And so I think that the governing bodies between the J3, the jury, and to an extent from the government, SDF, would need to come together to create some kind of avenue for this to be done.
So should it be something like almost like a salary so people don't have to work, for instance?
The word salary, I don't like, but
why you don't like
it's probably the same because what I see it as a grant towards your development. So if you say you apply and depends, you may have different levels, and you would give them like maybe a 4-year span to achieve certain levels, because you would expect the continuation after 4 years or the 2 Olympic span of 8 years. If for whatever you don't achieve a level where you can command certain earnings from it yourself, then maybe you have to check if you are doing the right thing. We are not a very rich country. Our resources are stretched and the expectations can be greater than what we can afford. But I think that if we create a structure and an athlete can see what is available within this structure, it will give them the option to say, well, I think I'm good enough to, after a certain time, if I use this to get to this level, or where I don't think I'm good enough, so I better go work for myself, you know. The thing is that we have not been, no attention has ever been really given to look at that sort of thing and to create that stability in the support. We have not done well in marketing our resources because we have produced sprinters, especially at the highest level. And I think only the America, by virtue of size and thing, have outdone us in terms of what we do. And I think outside of America, we are the only country who has ever had the fastest man and the fastest woman in the country. And those kind of assets, if used and market well, could earn us good money to set up a program like this. Certainly the association who gets sponsorship from international company could, based on their marketing and how they present their value, could get sufficient, well, maybe not sufficient, but enough money to start that along with the other supportive group. And I'm sure that if you have something like that, the private sector would contribute. I must commend the minister with the insurance that she has, because it cuts the cost significantly when you have to do MRIs and so on and so forth. That's a positive step and thing. And maybe more areas like that can be brought into play And it would make a difference as to how the athlete perceive how the country cares for them.
Is there anything in particular you would say on the record, having heard Asafa's concern?
I hear him, and I just heard what he's been saying. I think that it's a bit harsh. I would think that maybe he could have made more impact while he was running to put forward the view that we need athletes need support, etc. and so on. I don't think coming at the end of his career like that, it is going to be interpreted differently.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, when we come back after the break, our TVJ roundtable, remember our WhatsApp line, it is 2540693, 876-2540693. Give us your first name and give us your general location. Johnny is starting us off in Montego Bay. He says, Safa has repped the country well, but I dare say this was an untimely, unforced error. You agree with Johnny? We'll soon come. Thank you so much for staying with us. So what's your response to the recent controversial comments made by Asafa Powell? Just before I get to my colleagues in studio, let's make sure we know what we're talking about. Here's what Asafa said.
Honestly, guys, if the support system don't change, my kid's not running for Jamaica. Not running for Jamaica. Sorry to say that, you know what I mean, but it's just facts, you know what I mean? My wife is Canadian and Ghanaian, so there are options, you know what I mean? I remember back in 2006, I was offered millions of US dollars to run for another country, and at the time I turned it down because I didn't know, it was very early, so I didn't know what the future hold. If I knew what I know now, I would have taken up that opportunity, you know what I mean? So I love my country and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's business, it's my life, it's my future. If we don't have support, money makes the world go round, and everybody want more money every day, and they want to be comfortable and live a good life. No athlete want to retire and go work a 9 to 5 or go sit down and struggling, wondering what's next. We all want to have a good life afterwards. Our money should work for us when we retire. Yeah, like I say, if the boys, if the system, if everything don't change, by the time these kids, you know, if they are actually interested in sports, of course, and running and all that stuff, if everything don't change, none of them not running for free. None of them not going to run for free. I run for free my entire life. I run for Jamaica, just country pride and all that stuff, just to wear the color and all that. I run for free for the country. Nothing. I've never gotten anything from the country. You know what I mean? So if all of that don't change, these kids not running for Jamaica.
All right, so everybody is chafing at the bit to get going. All right, so my colleagues in studio, Jermaine Brown, Dwayne Extol, I was flipping his name there, and as well Oral Tracy. And all right, Oral has been containing himself. Yeah. So let me fly the gates. And my first question is for all of you, but I'll start with Oral. You're mad with Safa for what he said?
No.
You take issue with what he said?
Not in totality. Strangely enough, I empathize with him on certain aspects of his outburst. When he said, you know, he's not going to allow his kids to run for Jamaica, something to that effect. Or even to the part where he said he got offers when he was a young sprinter to get millions of US dollars. I empathize with him there, because we're not going to criticize nobody. We try and maximize them earning potential.
What's your problem?
I get in there now, right there now. So that part I'm all right with him, that's, you know, strange enough. Where I depart from Asafa now is when he went into the era of Jamaican people disrespecting him, and we don't like athletes and we're wrong on this and we don't support athletes and we hate Asafa, we fight against Asafa.
Asafa never said that.
Rubbish, me not quote him.
No,
but that's the essence of what he said.
No, quote him.
Asafa, we're talking about.
Quote him.
That's why I'm going to play the song.
Yeah, man, quote him. I want to draw off a track for us.
Yeah, don't go off track.
All right, let me tell you. All right, let me just stick to what I remember him specifically saying. So he has had to endure disrespect. Who disrespects Asafa?
No, but that's a red herring.
No, man, not tell me that. Is that him say? You say, must say what him say. I mean, say what him say. You tell me say that's a red herring.
Follow me. Let's focus. He said a lot, but let's focus on the issue of support for athletes.
No, man, none of that. Me I tell you what we have a problem with. Start at the disrespect. Go and address that.
And I'm saying.
Who disrespect Asafa?
And I'm saying.
And what's the nature of that disrespect?
You've said that. But I'm not spending my program talking about
the program. We just want.
Athletes are not more talking
so we don't want to talk about the disrespect.
No.
Support.
And that we really have a problem with it.
Yeah, you've
all right, let me go support now.
All right.
We live. The last time I checked, we live in a relatively poor country, still a third world country. We have lots of issues that needs addressing more than the financial welfare of some retired athletes, which are more important than that. We can always do better. We can do better for doctors, nurses, pothole, water supply, housing. We can do better for all of them something. The track and field industry, I want to call it that, is one of the most structured and organized industries in Jamaica. If you have talent in track and field and you're willing to work and be smart, you will become a rousing success. So this notion about not doing enough for the athletes, that is the red herring.
All right, let me stop
that
you
is
there.
the red herring.
Let me stop you there. And just to point out that the phrase you use, I think, needs to be interrogated. What does rousing success actually mean?
Usain Bolt, Shelley and Fraser Price.
You can't put them in the same category.
Why?
Those are a few.
Well,
why?
Those are a few.
So that this system it come true. Them come true.
But those are a few coming to the system. Those are a few coming to the system. You need a system that is structured in such a way that we don't get anomalies every now and then coming to as stars. We have a sustained set of athletes who get to the world level, get to the Olympic level, and become successful. You pick out Shelley, you pick out Usain. Name some others.
You have to go more? You have to go, we can go Ilian Thompson here.
Right.
We can go more. We can go Sharika Jackson.
We have available.
We can go the same Asafa Powell.
What happens then when the athletes don't get the support they need?
So did those athletes get the support they need?
The man got the support.
Okay.
They got the support.
So from right here in Jamaica?
So where did they go? Where did they train?
So I don't get the point then. So I don't get the point.
All right,
where is the lack of support?
Tracy, hold on.
I'm going to touch the track a little bit now. See? All right, so where Asafa is concerned, I start with who feels it, knows it. And Asafa started competing at a time when making that transition from the junior level, whether it be high school, college to senior, was very difficult. He came in at a time when athletes just started to stay back in Jamaica. Started with Bridget Foster Hilton at MVP, then came Asafa, right? So he knows personally the struggles he went through, right? At one point, I can recall, they never had any sponsorship. Then NCB came on board, and NCB was the sponsor for MVP for a while, right? So they know the struggles they went through, right? And when I listened to the interview, I think persons are maybe misinterpreting it a bit. Nowhere in it did he say, I regret having competed for Jamaica. Hold on. No.
I should have taken money. What's
No. He said, no. He said what he said, and he meant what he said. Yes. He never said, I regret competing.
I wish I took the money.
So would you not?
That's a regret, my
boss.
No.
He regrets not taking that money.
No.
All right, so hold on.
Let me finish my point.
Actually, I'm shocking myself here. I actually agree with Tracy on this.
Right.
I think it is implicit in what he said that he regretted not having switched from
correct, and take that money.
I thought that was clear from what he said.
Well, I don't get that from it. I think if he wanted to say that, he would have said that. And my third point here is a father looking out for his children. Right? Remember, it's a sports day cause all of this.
I don't have a problem with that part
right?
of it,
So this is a man now we're saying, listen, you being a mother, you being fathers, and you know the road you traveled. And you say, listen, I don't want my children traveling the road I traveled because,
no problem,
right? Because I know the challenges. Yeah. So if I can find a way to make things better for them, I will. No.
That's his
what
right.
he said also was, hold on, let me just complete the point. What he said also, if the system doesn't change in Jamaica, right?
And that's
right, so he's saying that he's still saying that they may still compete.
Does that mean?
Yeah.
We're going to pick up on that, and let me just say as well that Asafa did go on to say in that clip that he said if it is that his children grow up and want to run, because he did put that in as a qualifier. Right. He's saying if it is they want to, he doesn't want them representing Jamaica because we need better support systems. Remember our WhatsApp line 2540693. We're back in a moment. Thank you so much for staying with us, boy. I keep saying if I didn't have the camera run during the break, I tell you. Reminding you of our WhatsApp line, it's 876-254-0693, 876-254-0693. One viewer says Asafa needs to step in and try to make the change he's speaking about. He has a clout and stance to achieve that. Well, Glenn Mills was saying he thought Asafa should have tried to do that while he was still competing. And my viewer also says, Usain Bolt isn't an anomaly. He just had mental fortitude and discipline and trusted his coach and the system. Sorry.
No, I agree.
You do not operate at the level Bolt was
what about Shelley?
Unless you're
Shelley
an
an anomaly?
outlier. And so is Shelley. Absolute outliers. And
Elaine.
And let's return to what we were saying there, because just before the break, Jermaine was talking about changing the system.
Yeah, I was saying that, a part of what Asafa said was if the system doesn't change, right, or if there isn't an improvement on the system, then his children might not run for Jamaica, right? So he's still hoping, right, that the system can improve, and hopefully he does his part too, because I agree with that too, where he has a part to play even while he's being retired and so on.
Right.
He needs to go on and further elaborate.
He's seeing these comments as part of that though, because he said in a subsequent social media post, kind of acknowledging some of the cussing he's been getting, and I've been shocked at some of the stuff people have been saying. By the way, no, people need to chill.
Yeah.
The man has a right to express himself
And
based
people
on
don't
his
have a right to
experience.
criticize what he said.
Yeah, but then
Some of them is vitriol.
Vitriolic, man. Vitriolic.
Why are we so afraid of criticism?
It's not criticism.
Afraid of criticism.
It's not criticism.
No.
What's it?
When you tell a man who has represented the country that when my talk is rubbish, you've never represented the country.
So what? But when I say rubbish,
It is
Trace,
not.
all right.
it's rubbish the man I say.
Hold on.
No. Hold on. But if you said it's not rubbish earlier.
No. Hold on. My show.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Good.
You cannot expect the same system that got us to this point to carry us into the next level.
Right.
You cannot expect it. That's why Grand Slam track, I use that as an example, is trying to change the face of track and field and how people look at track and field. Track and field athletes don't make the kind of money pickleball players are making now.
I don't even know what is pickleball.
Exactly. And pickleball, they're making money because they're now about to have a world championship. They're changing how athletes are presenting themselves. Tennis has a world tour. NASCAR has a world tour. Track and field doesn't have a world tour. We have one single event every year. You talk about the Diamond Leagues, but Diamond League is in Europe, and we don't know how the money is spent there.
Yeah,
but
one or two meets in America.
Right, and a couple meets in America. When you think about the tennis Wimbledon, all of those places, all those meets, all those competitions, track and field, it needs to move from an amateur level because that's how it operates as an amateur sport. That's where we need to move from. And that's where the system here in Jamaica has to follow. No, because
they're losing. And those guys professionals?
No.
And these guys
what qualifies them as professional?
Do they
because they get a contract?
This is what they make a living from. They earn. Some of them earn good money. And those professionals.
What do you consider good money?
What? No.
What do you consider good money?
I don't get. Just
not confused with the show this evening.
Follow me. I think
fully confused.
I think you're missing a point. I think you are equating the fact that the sport is called professional with the fact that they're doing well and it's a good system. And what is being said is that even though what the system that is currently in place needs to be improved, it needs to be changed, and the athletes need to earn more. And that Jamaica
And
needs
this
to play
is-
its part in doing that by providing better support.
So we're talking about the global track and field infrastructure now. I thought we were
about
discussing
both.
Jamaica.
Talking both.
Both levels.
Because
Both.
what we're discussing here is not unique to Jamaica, you know.
No,
Track
I
and
agree
field
with you.
athletes generally, comparatively,
Globally.
they don't earn the kind of money that
Right.
basketballers and
True.
footballers
That's
earn.
why the system
That's why it's a-
overall has to
However,
change.
might I chime in here?
Yes, go ahead, Jeremy.
But unlike other places in the world, track and field as a sport is celebrated in Jamaica.
Right.
As a matter of fact, you spoke of Grand Slam. A few of the American athletes, whilst being interviewed and they came here for Grand Slam, they were saying that why they like competing in Jamaica and why they like Jamaican track and field is that the athletes, from what they see, the Jamaican athletes are celebrated, they are known, they're respected. Unlike when they're in the US, they're hardly known.
Why not?
Right. So when they come to Jamaica, they feel as if track and field is like the NFL in the US or basketball. It is celebrated. Right. So what Jamaica can do and can continue to do through champs that we have now and what we need to do more at the senior level is to ensure that the sport itself grows and be an example for other countries. We can become an example for other
I
countries.
think that is
and be a
all
hub.
those are all platitudes.
No, not
though.
platitudes. These are all
we
suggestions.
Still don't have the kind
not
of economy,
platitudes. No.
Jermaine, for all of these wonderful things that you want.
Right.
to get
But
done.
No, but there are sponsors. But there are sponsors.
One at a-
But there
one at
are
a
sponsors who
time.
are willing to come on board.
In the time we have left,
Yes.
what more needs to be done, if anything? Tracy doesn't seem to think anything.
I think realistically, we have a system that works. Dwayne and Jerome and Jeremy and everybody want
Despite
to
the fact
change.
that the athletes say it don't work.
One athlete spoke.
There is one athlete.
And there are many like there are many.
These are,
there are
these
many
are
with the views.
athletes,
of
these are
Asafa.
millionaire athletes telling you that a system that them come to don't work.
So
Make that
He didn't
make
say it
up.
didn't work.
So you need
he
You
said,
know that they are just to them and say-
he said it needs to improve and be fixed
But
because
it
he's been
works.
through it.
Okay.
The system
One at a
works.
time.
Hold on.
The system, remember,
hold on.
where we are in track and
Hold
field,
on.
it evolved to where we are. You know.
Hold
They must say,
Hold
after
on.
winter, Herb
Hold
McKinley,
on.
them set this in the
Yeah, and it has
Tracy.
improved.
And we've come a far way
And we have even further to go.
to go.
It
So don't make it look like the thing popped
What
out.
I say to you, remember West Indies cricket. Never forget West Indies cricket and the
Dwayne,
belief
Dwayne
that we
was-
have,
I want to ask you,
that we have,
Hold on.
and the
Finish your
belief
point.
that we have a never-ending chain of potential, right? And not putting catchment systems in place to ensure that young athletes coming through make that transition and more of them make that transition, right? So we don't lose more of them,
Track and field
right?
have the best
So
catchment
no,
system
no,
in
no,
all
no,
sports
no, no,
in
no.
Jamaica.
Hold on, the
It has the best
cupboard might
catchment
look full now, you know,
system.
but if you
Hold
don't
on.
improve the system, it will empty out.
Yeah,
Do it.
Why do you change your phone?
because it get outdated.
Thank you very much. The system gets outdated. The operating system gets outdated. We need to improve it to ensure that the future, that we can celebrate in the future as well. It has to change.
All right.
You can't-
Again, platitudes,
You keep
Dwayne,
saying
with all the
platitudes.
respect.
You keep
we
saying
have a,
platitudes.
Dwayne, I don't know how far through the system you came. We have prep school champs. We have basic school champs. We have champs of all champs, world champs.
You
See,
are
and if we have
missing
professional
missing
track
the
and field
point.
clubs, there is
missing the point.
hold on, Dion, 10 seconds. There is no talented track and field athlete in Jamaica.
But I know that's what you're going to say.
That will go by the wayside
That is-
because the system
I can name
will
plenty.
capture them.
I can name
That's
plenty.
Not all of them will matriculate to see
I
that
can name
success, Dwayne.
plenty.
But you won't.
It's-
Your talent won't go unnoticed, Dwayne.
The
You will be
amount-
captured by a high school.
Tracy, stop.
The amount that transition is less than 1%.
No, we're not talking at that level. You know.
No.
We're talking a youngster who want to run, and because when the system not good, he get lost.
No,
and
you are
continue.
describing the system like as
It's
it's
a
ABC,
failure, yeah.
right? It's not as simple as that, you know.
I don't
When you say
understand.
once you have the
No,
talent,
you just get up, train.
once you have the
and you're-
talent, you will be seen, and once
if
you're
you have the
seen, you will
talent-
make it.
If you have the talent
Dion
as a
asked.
5-year-old in
Dion asked.
Jamaica,
Hold on,
child,
hold on.
Hold
Dion
on.
asked.
you will
Hold on.
get into
All right, Dion-
formal track and
Hold
field.
on, Dion asked.
What are you talking about?
You need a
Hold
system.
on.
Yes.
Dion asked
Yes.
for suggestion.
Yes.
Government support. When athletes, I think Warren Weir said it some years ago, when they try to get a starting block into the country, they have to play twice the duty of the block. So you can't get a starting block. Stephen Francis and MVP have invested in a machine that has helped Kishane Thompson. I saw that machine 10 years ago at UCLA. We need facilities that athletes can access so they can help them injuries, help rehabilitation, so help them to prepare themselves for the future. That's what we need.
Do we consider the constraints when we're making these recommendations? Do we
No, you continue to
appreciate
say
the constraints, the financial
Yes, we
constraints?
do, but it can be done. But let me tell you what is happening and what has been. For instance, track and field is seen as an Olympic sport. is the are available that you get through the JOA, and we have a number of athletes who've benefited from that, both track and field and other sports, right? So the Olympic Solidarity Program that's in place. Now, a national sports policy was tabled back in 2013, way back in 2013, and it is yet to be officially put in place. It was tabled back in 2013, yet to be, right, to be officially put in place. Most recently, athletes were complaining, right?
About what?
No, in terms of their preparation for the Olympics and World Champs, and what the government
They
did.
couldn't prepare properly?
Yeah, in terms of wanting more assistance. So what the
They
government
want
did.
money to prepare.
Yeah, help.
Talk.
But at what point do we give the
Well, no, let me
athletes
tell you
money?
what actually took place.
But you
And
see-
what the government did, right, was, and Glenn Mills mentioned it as well, right, in terms of the insurance policy that was put in place for national athletes, right, who compete at the Olympics and World Championships. So when you get injured, for instance, and you're going for treatment and things, right, once you access this program that the government has in
Wasn't
place.
there a health?
No, there wasn't
policy
before.
that was
No,
announced
there was none
before?
before. It was recent. It was,
recent?
It was after Tokyo. After Tokyo, Tokyo was 2021. It came in for Eugene.
I know there was an announcement
And the
about
point
came in
is,
for Eugene.
The point is, I have 2 minutes
Right.
left, but one of the points there, though, is that because, for instance, I have a viewer who is saying it's only Maverick talking sense. Him say the rest of you acting as if America 100 policy, what is the plan, and what are the steps you can take? I don't think anybody is saying put in place everything all at once, but Juliet Cuthbert, for instance, for years had been talking about an athlete rehab center dealt with by the government.
Nationally.
So you don't have to immediately move to, you
don't build a room.
huge system,
Not
but
there.
step
Yeah.
by step. So the health insurance, sure, but what is next? 30 seconds, everybody, most
All right.
important thing. Next.
All right, for me, more needs to be done. And
What specifically?
For instance, like what the government did recently with the insurance program, more of those, right? And finally, on this Asafa thing, maybe it's not so much the message, but the messenger. Because there are some Jamaicans who they'll criticize Asafa regardless because they feel like he disappointed them. And from you see some of the criticism, they feel like, I hear one man saying, what Asafa do for Jamaica?
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what needs to change is our culture, our attitude towards sports, attitude towards supporting. Because I think back to when Lionel Messi came, the stadium was full. We have track and field, we have world and global stars. Grand Slam track, we didn't see that many people. So I'm thinking we have to change how we appreciate sports and how we go to support. Don't ask for a free ticket when a track meet is going on. Pay money and go through the gates.
Support.
I dream for the day when Jamaicans are able to appreciate constructive criticism. I just want 10 seconds to say to all of the young aspiring athletes out there, instead of complaining, instead of griping and growling and her, look at Usain Bolt. Look at the same Asafa Powell. Look at Shelley and Fraser Price. Look at Sherika Jackson, Ian Thompson. Look at those people. They worked hard and they maneuvered themselves through all of the imperfections and they made for themselves a pretty decent life. Some of them are being regarded as the greatest ever to have competed in this sport from right here in the Jamaica system where everybody are cussed. It is not that bad.
Tracy is picking
Rubbish.
on the outliers,
Yeah.
the top performers,
He
the
never
ones that
competed
have earned millions
as
and
an
millions
athlete.
and millions.
But those are the ones they should aspire towards being.
Tracy.
Okay, we're out of time. We'll come back. Maybe. Thanks so much to our guests in studio. Thanks once again to Ramarda Lyons for that fabulous special report we aired earlier on in the program. As always, thanks to you for watching. Come back for another edition of the program. I'm Dion Jackson on behalf of the news and production teams. Have a great evening, folks. Stay safe and good thanks.